We have a real equipment problem. The way we needed missiles in world wars, we need ventilators.
New York State is preparing its guidance for doctors and hospitals on how to make some difficult decisions about patient care that they may soon face. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo says the state has about 5,000 ventilators, but needs 30,000. Ventilators are machines that aid breathing. Many critically ill coronavirus patients, like those with pneumonia, need the assistance to survive. So if and when hospitals run out of ventilators, how would they decide which patients take priority?
Doctors want guidance.
Samuel Gorovitz is a philosophy professor and longtime member of the New York State Task Force on Life and the Law. In 2015, a group of experts on behalf of New York State created guidelines for allocating ventilators should there be a shortage of them in a flu pandemic. Gorovitz says he's seen a draft of the guidance the state is developing for ventilator allocation during a coronavirus crisis. He says the draft he saw may be different from the final version. New York's Department of Health says that while the department has sought input from a variety of medical and ethics experts, there's no expectation of a formal report.
The guidance that is being developed, and I believe soon will be promulgated within New York State, will indicate that there will have to be committees, triage committees, that will be required to contain representation of ethical perspectives.
Triage committees were a key part of the 2015 guidelines, tasked, among other things, with determining a patient's level of access to a ventilator.
There will be committees that will be involved in making the tragic triaging decisions in situations in which somebody who needs a ventilator will be denied access, or perhaps somebody on a ventilator for whom the prospects are essentially hopeless will have to be removed to make room for somebody else for whom the prospects are very much better.
So this committee would be empowered to take a ventilator away from someone who's alive, who probably won't live, but who's still alive, take them off life support so they can give it to someone else.
That's what is going to happen.
The 2015 guidelines say there may be scenarios in which the triage committee must remove a ventilator from a patient whose health is not improving.
The idea would be the critical care team would say, here's the decision we believe we have to make, and here's the reason why. And we're running that by a triage review team for vetting. And are we leaving out anything? Are we missing anything? Is there any consideration that you would call to our attention? And the team might say, yeah, you're failing to take into account thus and such, or you've missed that. Or the committee might say, that seems like a heartbreaking but justified choice. And the critical care doc at that point would be empowered to proceed.
Gorovitz says he expects that family members of the patient whose ventilator is set to be removed would be informed beforehand.
You, the family member, might at that point say, I will not accept this. You would then be told, if it's as I expect, you have a right of appeal, but this all will play out on a scale of minutes, not hours.
In the 2015 guidelines, appeals are limited to so-called technical injustices, like, for example, a withdrawal decision being made without considering all triage criteria.
If it's a hospital system, they might be able to have a committee that would look over, several hospitals.
Dr. Tia Powell helped lead the working group that wrote the original guidance document in 2007.
In working on guidelines like this, I never, ever thought we would get there. And now it definitely is a realistic possibility.
Dr. Powell says that within the past week, she too has read a draft of the guidance New York State is preparing.
These crisis standards of care, which are radically different than what we do normally, would temporarily make it possible to say, we're so sorry, We tried to pull you through. It didn't work. And now we're going to remove that ventilator and it would go to some other person in line. An effort to save you is done, and we have people waiting, so we're not going to continue treating you with a ventilator.
Wow. And then who makes that call?
So that would be the triage committee. We'll evaluate people at 48-hour intervals.
Gorvit says hospitals could, as a last resort, use a randomization process, such as a lottery, to decide distribution.
There are some circumstances, I know you all thought of this, when discretion doesn't really play that much of a role. The best you can do is a lottery.
Yes, and in fact, the guidelines do allow for lottery. You have to be clear and explicit and operationally rigorous about how the lottery is to be done. The outcome will be horrible for whoever doesn't win the lottery.
New York's Department of Health declined to comment on any particular policies it may be considering.
All this is just so wildly unpleasant to even contemplate and discuss.
It is exactly that. It is searingly difficult even to have to think about it.